Hello everybody, it's Holger Mueller here from Constellation Research. Welcome you to the episode, the famous first triple-digit, single, same, identical digit, triple one episode. Welcome, Ms. Miller. How are you doing?
If we get to episode 222, there is something very, very wrong with this world. People should not allow that to happen. I'm just saying, I'm gonna lose my faith in humanity if we end up with episode 222 at some point. But we're here. We're going to officially call this the post-tsunami episode. We're going to
survivor episode, right?
It is, but more than that, let me tell you something, Holger. A weird thing happened after an earthquake and a tsunami. Everyone decided to apparently pull out their cash, pull out their checkbooks, and buy some stuff. Because this, ladies and gentlemen, this is the CRTV we are going to dub the acquisition and the earnings episode. So let's hit the news. Holger, you had some interesting acquisitions happen. I think SAP picked something up, didn't they?
It's acquisition time, right? SAP acquired SmartRecruiters, one of the true innovators originally who scared everybody in the SaaS space, because the founder, Jerome Termnick, said, oh, we're not going to charge for our software. You just have to pay when you hire someone. We take a percentage of the salary, which scared really everybody into the outcome-based territory, with then changed again to typical SaaS seating and so on. But it was a great scare, a great differentiator. Did a lot of things good on the recruiting side, added to onboarding, went to the large enterprise space, have a very large banner customer with Bosch, which happens to be an SAP customer too. So maybe there's less integration work to do after this one. Oddly, which is a little bad if they're listening, SAP only briefs us 2 weeks after the announcement. So this looks like there's some internal important thing to do, and maybe it was acquired by some M&A department and then somebody got handed here is a thing. I don't know if that's true, but it doesn't look good. You should do this 2-3 days after the acquisition, or even before the acquisition news, like some other vendors do. But congratulations. So I think SAP will reinvent talent management, starting with talent acquisition, aka recruiting, which is always a good action to reinvent that in the era of AI. They will be up to organic solutions from Workday and Oracle, who all went a long way and built their own in-house recruiting solution. So it will be interesting to see for the choice that customers have. But choices are great and make it better for customers.
How do you think this starts to fit in with SAP's larger vision of, hey, we've got all this data, we've got all this AI, the organization's going to run differently because of this data cloud? Where does this new vision of HR and HCM start to fit in for them?
That's super interesting, right? Because SmartRecruiters brings a slew of more talent data, which will be interesting to see how integrated, right? In the classic ways that BTC opens with integration, process intelligence, or something like this, or if they're going to go full BDC, everything goes in BDC, and you build your new integrated HCM applications on top of that. So it will be good. I mean, you should almost, as analysts, say, hey, we chip in a little money for you to buy someone to see how you're going to integrate things in the future going forward. Great question, Liz. But you had an acquisition in your space as well, right?
Oh, my space decided to light fires, pour gasoline all over it, and then light some more dynamite. It's silly season apparently over in the land contact center, but more importantly, I think it's silly season in the world of AI and contact center. So I think the least explosive announcement that's happened in the last couple of months is the retirement of Mike Birkeland, the longtime CEO, from the CEO role at Five9. Talk about someone who rebuilt a category, decided he needed to take a break, and certainly there were some health issues involved in that break, came back, reinvented things again, and is now very rightfully taking that retirement break. I like Mike a whole lot. He is someone who has, who took a look at not just cloud, took a look at CCaaS and that as a service footprint, and really has been a guiding, calming force for organizations who have gone through an awful lot of what could be argued could have been very traumatic transformation. When you start to talk about contact center moving into the cloud, it felt like a big explosion. And I think a lot of vendors in the space chose to take a language that was very kind of danger Dan. Oh my gosh, if you don't move to the cloud, everything's going to be destroyed. Like there was a lot of that in this space in the market. And Mike took a different path. Mike decided to bring a whole lot of joy and optimism. to the conversation. And I think of anything that I will continue to think of as his legacy at 5'9". I think one of the interesting things that kind of clouded his celebration in that retirement announcement was that 5'9" also have kind of reshifted their C-suite across the board and let go 3 key players in marketing, people, and in strategy. Now, there are a lot of rumors flying around about why one would do that. Why would you make such a C-suite change? And some of it has to do with shifts in the C-suite from the very top. Does this create a blank slate for a new CEO to come in and potentially change the trajectory of 5'9" once again? They had really solid earnings. They've got a really good posture and position financially. So that isn't the worry. But the other question is, does this sweeten the term sheet? Is there something that's happening that is more reminiscent of the opportunity of, say, that old Zoom conversation? Not that it's going to happen with Zoom, but is this a precursor to acquisition, or is this a precursor to innovation? And I think either way, Mike has set them up for success in either one of those directions. So, I wish him a ton of happiness and success. He's still staying around, though. He's still going to be chairman of the board. So I don't know if anyone thought they were getting rid of him. It's kind of hard to get rid of the guy. He's got an infectious personality and he can sing. So, hey, that always makes conferences fun. The next one I would say that was kind of also in the land of, like explosion, but not destruction, was the news that Salesforce and ServiceNow kind of have hit that impasse, right? Of now we're both agreeing that we're probably not going to buy this company, but we're sure going to invest in them. And that is a massive $1.5 billion investment into Genesys.
Fairly unique, right? So that two competitors decide to displace Switzerland. The only thing that I remember in the 90s, there was this leading algorithm vendor, a company called iLog, Silicon Valley startup, and all the ERP vendors took 10% stake and give them money, basically, right? We think these algorithms should be shared by everybody. So Salesforce and ServiceNow are not that generous and leaving room for other competitors, but they think, we're going to take this Genesys thing. So
here's the thing.
Is this bad news for non-ServiceNow, non-Salesforce customers? What do you think?
No, not at all. Not at all. What I think this is indicating is, so there's a couple things. This is a brilliant move on the side of Genesys because it pushes away any activists that might be at the door. It gives them dollar space. It gives them wallet power to innovate and invest. Yes. But let's also be very real about what Genesys had to do over the last 2 years in their partnerships with ServiceNow and with Salesforce. They partnered with giants intentionally in order to open the door for their enterprise customers who were already Salesforce or ServiceNow customers. It has opened the door to Genesys having to make the decision to invest early on, invest in time, invest in developers, invest in those integrations. These weren't simple API calls that were just surface level partnerships. They went deep and they invested. And I think what this is a lot of payoff because that investment has paid off for both Salesforce customers and ServiceNow customers. So I think this is a little bit of a thank you note, maybe, it's kind of like a, hey, thanks for taking that on.
Amazing to me. It's amazing to me because if you give me 10% of that amount, I build a better CCaaS. No, just kidding.
Challenge accepted, right? But I think what's really interesting here is that what it's also really showing is that these integrations are hard. And the reason why people haven't built their own CCaaS and have not gone down that path is that voice, which is increasingly becoming the new or renewed UI and UX, it's hard. It's not easy from a data perspective. It's not easy to provision. It's not easy to make sure it gets done right in every single space and place you need to do it. And now you're going to start using voice as being your primary interface for your prompts and your AI. Come on now. You need to be able to bring in technology that already knows how to do this. Genesys is certainly a great example. But there's another great example out there. And I would argue that of the 3 big players that decided to pour gas on a CCaaS fire, NICE is the one that caught my attention the most. NICE bought Cognigy. Now, a lot of my peers in analystdom in the CCaaS world, yes, Sheila, Dave, I'm looking right at you two, have been asking every vendor that is a partner with Cognigy. So when are you going to buy Cognigy, right? Cognigy has been the conversational AI centerpiece to cloud-based contact centers, to AI for a very, very long time. They've got a great book of business. They've got a great book of customers. But here's what's interesting. What Cognigy's co-founder and CEO very clearly said was, this was not about the money. This was not about we need to get out of here so we can innovate. This was the right partnership, the right term sheet, let's be honest, but it was also the right culture. Cognigy, based in Germany. Holger, you know this very better than anybody. Not exactly an easy culture to try to fit into a non-German or a non-European company, right? But Israeli HQ'd, New York HQ'd, NICE has a culture that just fit for Cognigy. It made sense from that perspective. NICE picks up a German HQ. It picks up deep talent on that development bench, but it also brings up one heck of a data strategy. So I think that while everyone's looking at this as a big AI buy, I look at this as a huge data buy, because I'm telling you, Cognigy's capacity to look at that structured and unstructured data, to look at conversational data, to look at document data, to bring all of that into one place, whether it's across vector, it's what you've been talking about this whole time. Transactional data, to get that into one place. Okay, good for you. But bringing in all that vector, bringing in all that document data, bringing all of that into a place that actually drives intelligence, that becomes the secret sauce. And NICE just paid a pretty penny for an organization that knows how to do it. And I think they're going to be bringing that into the rest of the NICE platform. And that suddenly turns that CX Empower One AI offering into something that now automatically has that built-in data capacity and power right along with it. So super interesting buy.
And from a culinary perspective, Düsseldorf, where Cognigy is headquartered, is the best place to eat sushi in Europe. Only place which has non-stop planes with special freezer cabinets to bring the tuna right from Fujichuki supermarket.
I am sure that a gentleman that you and I both know and respect an awful lot, one Mr. Scott Russell, formerly of SAP, I'm sure that was the first thing he thought of when he was like, Cognigy, sushi.
Sushi in Düsseldorf. That's what we'll see. We'll see. Yeah.
It was
also earnings season. It was also earnings season. Yep. And we saw that the fear that AI might take Google search results back is not really materializing. Google had a really good quarter. Google Cloud had a good quarter, followed by Azure doing really, really strong for Microsoft. A little bit of a surprise for me, but good. Congratulations to them. Amazon did relatively well, regaining speed, but not enough speed for friends in the stock market, right? On the on-premise side, NVIDIA did really, really well. AMD did not so do well with the data center offerings. They had a game. Do you know any gamers who just bought computers? So I don't want to start the rumor of channel stuffing with AMD, which is correct. But I mean, I haven't heard anybody being excited to buy a gaming PC right now. And gaming saved the quarter, and desktops in the quarter, which is anti-cyclical for the industry. So we'll see what Q3 will do for Lisa Su and team. That's the earnings rundown from my perspective.
Well, and I think we're also getting the hook from our always amazing and now newly married producer.
Yes. I still have to get new to these different.
I know. Change is hard for everyone, but with that,
mass murderer deja vu things here. We won't mention the name, but you can pick your mass murderer in the comments, and you may confirm or not deny.
Stop. Well, listen, we got some great segments coming up for you. And as always, stick around till the end. We'll be back to say bye.
I have a question for you. What do you think is the number one challenge customers are facing when they go on a journey to adopt AI? Let me give you a hint. It's not a change management. It's not lack of use cases. And it's not even poor ROI. Turns out it is security. Yes, security is the number one challenge. When I talk to CIOs and CISOs and ask them why AI is different, and these CIOs and these CISOs have successfully taken their organizations to public cloud. They embrace mobility. They embrace remote work. But when it comes to AI, they're just very nervous and they're very anxious. And their response is one word: non-determinism. AI is such a technology where the response happens to be non-deterministic. And what that means is when you ask one question to AI, you might get one response. You ask the same question again, you might not get the same answer even though the answer that you might get could be the correct one. So that makes it very difficult for someone to structure their security program or security testing to figure out how AI actually works. And with the rise of agentic AI, it makes it even more complicated. As we start looking at agentic AI, agents are going to be our teammates. You can reason with them. They will actually help us in getting things done. However, they might assume our identity. They might get their own identity. And they might be semi-autonomous or fully autonomous. And that makes people even more nervous. So how do we think about security? Now, the good news is you can break it down. You can break non-determinism down into smaller chunks, because AI, end of the day, happens to be a problem which is made up of a bigger problem made up of smaller problems. When you look at the base models, and these are the large language models, they are trained on large data sets. And we have seen new attack vectors on large language models, such as adversaries can trick a model into revealing something that it should not reveal. An attacker can play a sort of a clever prompt and get the training data out of the model that the model is not supposed to reveal. Or an attacker or an adversary could essentially poison the model. But there are tests for all of those things. You can actually defend against all these kinds of new attack vectors that we are seeing. Now remember, adversaries have access to AI too. You are trying to use AI, they are trying to use AI as well. Going beyond models, it turns out it's a traditional data security problem. How do you secure multiple data sets? How do you make sure people have the right access to the right data? So when you are querying information, you are not getting responses that you should not be getting. You should not have access to this data at all, period, with or without AI. So let me take an example and walk you through what this means. Let's take an example of Microsoft security portfolio. Now, Microsoft has had security portfolio for a while. Security is nothing new to Microsoft. And just like any other environment, no one really starts from AI from scratch. All organizations have basic defense in place. So it's important to understand that you have to go beyond traditional defense, but you still require traditional defense. So what Microsoft has done is they have taken their existing portfolio and they are making sure that existing portfolio works against AI workload as well. And they can secure all kinds of AI workload, AI use cases in making sure that CIOs and CISOs feel comfortable rolling it out, to the business for which this is immensely useful. So, for example, from an end user perspective, Microsoft has a product called Purview, and Microsoft Purview, think of this thing as a data security product, where if you want to make sure that the end user gets only access to certain kinds of data, you want to mask PII or personally identifiable information, you can do that too, called DLP. There are other kinds of data security mechanism that you can actually apply. There's insider risk, which is sort of a huge thing where you want to make sure that this attack is not coming from within the organization. So this Microsoft Purview handles a lot of data use cases, and Microsoft Purview also ensures that model is trained on right kind of data. So it's data security, but it is extended for AI. Now, the second thing, which is more important, not more important, but second thing, which is equally important, is identities. Identity-driven attacks have exceeded malware-driven attacks. So we know that adversaries, one of the most popular attacks, that they would try to break in, they would try to assume someone's identity, and then they would launch attacks. So that's one thing. So you really have to protect, to defend these identities and make sure you secure them. At the same time, interesting enough, we have large language models and we have different kinds of AI systems. They get their own identities too. And remember, we talked about agents? Well, agents would have their own identities as well. And these are called NIH or NHI or non-human identities. So non-human identities are going to be as important, if not more important actually, than human identities. Because we want to make sure that the non-human identities, the systems and agents and whatnot that are actually helping us getting things done, have the right kind of access. They are not accessing data that they should not access. They are looking at the traffic that is coming to a specific identity, goes to a specific end user. And from an identity perspective, that's everything is central when it comes to an identity. Microsoft has Microsoft Entra, which is sort of think of this thing as an identity management product, has been there for a long time. And with Entra ID and a number of other features, Microsoft has been extending that product to make sure that they are supporting the newer identity requires as we would need to protect AI workload. And the last thing comes to end users. And end users are the most important thing, because you know what? We are the weakest links. Human beings are the weakest links. So we are sitting there on our devices, on our laptops, on our mobile devices, and we are accessing all kinds of applications. We are accessing SaaS applications, we are accessing copilots, we are accessing other local applications that are AI enabled. And these endpoints need to be secured from an AI perspective, because they are the most vulnerable endpoints, because end user has access to systems through an endpoint. So Microsoft Defender, think of this thing as what started out as an antivirus kind of thing, that hey, the attack or the critical vulnerability that you can have in your system would be a virus. I think we have made so much progress. We are not talking about viruses anymore. What we are really talking about is the attacks that could be the adversaries that could be trying to play the role of an end user, or adversaries that might use end user's identity to get access to certain things. The devices can be hijacked. A number of other things that can actually happen, because now end user has access to far more information than they ever did, especially when it comes to structured data and unstructured data. A lot of unstructured data or semi-structured data, such as documents and whatnot, we haven't really made a good use of that. But now with AI, end users are going to have access to a lot more information than they ever did, which is a great thing. But you want to make sure that that workload, that access pattern, and that endpoint is protected. So the way to think about this is AI is a new endpoint. If you think of AI as an endpoint, then it totally makes sense. So to summarize, you think about AI as an endpoint, which is the end user, and you think about identities, making sure that you are protecting, you're defending identities. And the last thing, you are making sure the data and the model, the data that is used to train models and models themselves are protected. That's the way to protecting, that's a way to think about your overall AI security. Thanks for watching the video. Check out Microsoft's security portfolio, as well as check out my big idea report on AI security on Constellation Research website, constellationnr.com. Thank you so much.
Hi, this is Ray Wang with Constellation Research. I'm here with Nikhil Behl, and he's the president of software at FICO. I really want to spend some time with him talking about one of the most interesting platforms we have seen in the business. Let's start by talking about your entry into the Brazilian market, because you entered that market in a way that was very different than any other markets we've seen you guys enter in.
You know, Brazil's a fascinating market. We've actually been in the Brazilian market since the mid-1990s. But we have found Brazil to be one of the most forward-looking and innovative markets, at least from a financial services perspective, anywhere in the world. They tend to adopt technology a lot faster than most other markets. And they tend to, want to be on the cutting edge more so than other markets. And so it allows us to experiment with them and to go to market with them and create solutions and capabilities for them that are unique and different, and bring them to market a lot sooner and faster than in most other places. And in this particular instance, in the about 2018, 2019, Brazil decided that they were going to go all in with open banking. And it was timing-wise just perfect for us, because our FICO platform was starting to mature and get to a point where it was going to be a wonderful toolkit and enabler for these financial institutions to really adopt open banking and to build new offerings that they could bring to market for their consumers in market. And it's proven out to be massively successful. Most of the traditional large financial institutions now run on FICO platform for their credit risk life cycles in their consumer and retail banks. And as do a wide variety of startups in the Brazilian market that have built capabilities and offerings on FICO platform. And in some cases, take that to market independently. And in some cases, they integrated in with the traditional banks and expanded the traditional banks' offerings for their consumers.
You know, what's amazing is the open banking created brand new products, brand new access, you know, completely new financial instruments that weren't there before to the consumer. What was the hardest shift going to open banking for the market?
Yeah, wonderful question, Ray. You know, if you think about open banking, and by virtue of even the name itself, you know, open means you're bringing in a plethora of third parties and capabilities and offering them to your consumers. And anytime you do that and you have a wide sort of distributed network that is, you know, working in concert to bring an offering to the consumer, you introduce risk in that system, and in particular from a security perspective. And so, you know, financial institutions really had to think hard around how are they going to manage that security risk in particular. And, you know, how are they going to put in place systems and mechanisms that prevent identity theft and, you know, fraud and so forth, that really at the end of the day causes financial loss, not just for the institution itself, but also for the consumer. At the same time, regulators have been quite thoughtful about this space and have put in place fairly stringent requirements from a regulatory perspective that financial institutions, startups, traditional banks, etc., all need to meet in order to provide a safe and secure open banking environment. And if you think about, you know, most institutions, in particular financial institutions, they tend to have a tremendous amount of legacy systems in place and a tremendous amount of technical debt that exists in their institutions. And for them to be able to, you know, retool and to create an environment that enables them to go to market faster, to provide these distributed offerings for their consumers, and you know, provide value for their consumers in an environment that has higher regulatory compliance and requires a more personalized, homogeneous, integrated experience for their customers when they're in a siloed point solution, legacy, traditional sort of you know, technology infrastructure framework. It's a very challenging and complicated place to be. And so they really had to work hard to retool to be able to create the you know, forward-looking open banking environment that they wanted to build out.
You know, this platform is really important, right? I mean, it's everything from data management to insights to actions to explainability and governance. And that's not an easy thing for companies to build on their own. And you guys have put in decades of expertise behind that. What did the customers you have do to take, you know, bring their legacy tech up to the right level of modernization, especially given this open finance model?
Yeah, you know, Ray, our philosophy and vision with FICO Platform from day one was really to build a platform for business and allow business people to run their business at the speed of business. And we wanted this to be, you know, an accelerator for institutions. And what that means is we wanted to break down silos within the organization, bringing together the technology teams much closer with their business teams, to be able to bring their data science teams much closer to the business teams, to be able to, you know, break down the barriers so that these different personas and groups within an enterprise could work together in a single framework and environment to be able to deliver faster and drive value faster for their consumers and for the institutions.
What were some tangible results that you can talk about or share?
You know, the results have been nothing short of remarkable, Ray. You know, and it's up and down, you know, the stack from a functional perspective almost. I mean, if you think about, you know, in the for our customers, their decision automation went up by over 60%, which is incredible. While we were doing that, we actually were able to drive up their digital transactions also around 60% or so. And credit defaults actually went down by about 40%. And so if you look at it, it's two sides of the same coin, and it's very hard to actually optimize for both, where you're driving up transactions by 60% and reducing defaults by 40%. On the consumer side, on the small and medium business side, it took credit approvals, which used to take for a particular customer, for example, almost 6 months or so, took it down to 2 days. And their total small and medium enterprise credit offerings went up by over 15%. We saw other customers that put this in place where their time for credit creation, new offers, new credit creation, went up by 97%. And this is in a world where they're living in a fairly stringent regulatory compliance world. And their regulatory compliance, time for compliance went up by almost 4x. And so, across the board, from driving digital transactions, reducing defaults, improving your credit offers, your rate of delivery of credit offers, and being regulatory compliance all at the same time is pretty remarkable. And so, customers have been tremendously happy. They start off with one use case and very quickly are onto dozens of use cases. And the largest financial institution in Brazil, for example, today has close to 36 use cases that run on FICO platform at this point, which is really a testament to how much value it drives for them, because they wouldn't do that if it wasn't really driving value for them and driving value for their consumers.
Nikhil, that's short of amazing. I mean, that is really what companies are trying to do, especially in this world of AI, in this age of AI first approaches that every organization is there. We always talk about faster, better, cheaper, choose to. I think in the age of AI, we can do faster, better, and cheaper. So I'm here with Nikhil, President of Software at FICO. Thank you so much for your time.
Great. Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate chatting with you.
Holger, it's been a couple of weeks, my friend. Earnings are done, as we've covered. We got new spaces and places to head in all things AI, hardware, chips, AI exponentials, you name it. But most of all, we got to get out of here. We're done. We're over.
Yeah, but I need to share this, right? Because I want to make the joke, 111 emergency call number in Germany. I don't remember that anymore. It's not. It got overjumped. Can you remember 110 is? Our better halves got that, and 112 is as well. So watch our colleagues for the emergency call on all enterprise news, right?
Holger, I don't know how many more times I can explain to you, we are the odds. It is on brand, and it is 100% accurate that Holger Mueller and Liz Miller on CRTV, we are the odds. It's going to be anything else. It's going to be fine.
I'm sure this in French side on Germany. I thought 111 was an emergency number. It's not. It got jumped over deliberately. I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, but Holger does bring up a point, y'all. Be sure to tune in for episode 112 with our colleagues, Larry Dignan and Martin Schneider. They will bring you the serious side of enterprise technology, and then you can join our clown car later. Until then, we'll see you. And you got a haircut.
Yeah.
You went to see the Turkish barber.
Exactly. Who has, I just saw him on the way to the grocery store, which I had to run before this, who has a Cadillac Eldorado 64.
Okay, baller. Whatever, Turkish barber.
Yeah, so early barbering, dirt cheap barbering, right? So haircut, shave, trim, 30 euro. So in New York, I just paid the last one I had was $120.
30 euros, but that guy's a bum.
Yeah, right.
Doesn't Holger's looks way more clear than he has in a while, huh?
Yeah, the background looks good. I still say that the clouds may have to be tired.
Yes, I know. I don't have any good other background here right now on the clip because I have to get going, and we have to do this like we never done before. Be done in.
Okay, let's be done. What are we talking about today? Holy shit.
What are the news? Yeah, let's see what's other news. Earnings, lots of earnings.
Lots of earnings. CCAS is on fire. We can talk about it's silly season. Brought on by Financial. Oh, heck no. Okay, let's get this done.
Episode 110? No, we're not that far. We're the odd ones, right? So we must be 109, 107.
Oh, what is this? Yeah, 109? 109. No, 111. 111, right?
No, we're still behind, I think. We're at
No,
101.
I swear, I thought the thing in Hawaii
111?
was 110.
So Hannah Hawk here, look at this. Updates. This is so
I know.
hard to do.
Oh, trying to be single already again, are you?
Hannah, your secret is safe. It can't stay here. It's not like this goes public. And she controls the bloopers. Hold on. Screenshot
Oh,
time.
yeah, grab it.
Where is my
Oh.
screenshot tool? Yes, I got it.
That's okay. Scott and I actually had the active conversation when we got married, and where I had to be like, do you, is this a thing for you? Like, is this important to you? Like, how are you feeling about this? And he's like, are you kidding? You've put in how many years building an actual reputation as a marketer known as Liz Miller? You're not changing your name. He was like, no, absolutely not. He was like, no.
What's last name? Just to.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense.
Well, but Holger, I don't know. You'll be really torn about whether I should have changed my last name, because had I changed my last name, it would be Elizabeth Brunner, Brunner, the German spelling.
Brunner. Definitely would bring you closer.
Brunner.
Typical
Brunner.
double consonant
German.
ER, double consonant ER like Mueller.
Double consonant, so not the Nordic or the